I feel like there are two main categories of food blogs, and there's the people who just really want to get recipes out there and share them with the world, and the blog is their vehicle for doing that. And then there are other people, which I think I fall into this category, where like the whole blog is your product. It's the photos, it's the writing and the story, and it's the food and the recipes that tie everything together.
That was Sara Cornelius, and this is episode 86 of the Chopped Podcast. Hey everyone, I'm Marley of the blog Namely Marley. I'm your host, and this is the Chopped Podcast. You know, this is the podcast designed for people just like you, bloggers who love food. Each week, my goal is to share with you thoughts, stories, interviews, everything related to food blogging so that we can all learn together about what works with food blogging, maybe even a little bit about what doesn't. Today, I am so excited to share with you this interview with Sara Cornelius. She's of the site Cake Over Steak. And you probably remember Sara. She's back from episode 20 where she was talking about a creative revenue stream that she created for her blog. It's very good interview, very good discussion, and a lot of inspiration can come from that one. So today, Sara is back and we're talking about something a little different. Sara is talking about the slow blog movement. Look, I know that sometimes we hear a lot of interviews. I have certainly interviewed people and they talk about, how important it is to churn the content out there. And I think that's really effective for people when it works for them. I mean, I've heard strategies of people that are publishing 3, 5, 6, or even 7 days a week. And you can hear people on this podcast that talk about that. I think I have Tegan of Half Baked Harvest that was here in episode 41 who posts 6 times a week, and Sabrina Snyder of Dinner Then Dessert from episode 82. She posts 5 times a week, but I think she said last year when she first started, she was publishing 7 times a week. So definitely there is that model of people publishing a lot and as a result, getting effective results. Look, I just want you to know that that's an approach that can work well for people. And if it works well for you, go for it. I think it's exciting. But if you're someone who works at a different pace, you might be interested in listening to Sara's story, the slow blog movement. It's about focusing on quality over quantity, spending a little bit more time on the posts, but definitely putting more quality into them. And also, maybe a little bit more work on the promotion side. She talks about both of those angles that she does. Also, Sara and I talk about other things. Me, I got to be asking questions about other things too. And so we go off topic a little bit. We stay on some other things about food blogging, but also I asked Sara what her favorite TV show is because, I like to ask that question. And she gave me an answer, and it has turned me on to a show that I am in love with right now. And I think you might like it too. I've talked to other people about it, and they have since been turned on to the show. So Sara's kind of like an evangelist, and we're all going to be her converts. Anyway, so I'm really excited to share this interview with you today. But first, a quick word about Chopped Conference. So are you following along with Fry Chats? Fry Chats are where Kara Anzus and I are kind of like, brain dumping on food blogging and other things. And really, it's like the spirituality side of being a creative person, let alone a creative entrepreneur. So this coming Friday, Kara and I are going to be talking about the popularity contest feeling that comes along with food blogging. Sometimes I think the worst places to experience that kind of popularity contest is at food blogging conferences. I know that the first one that I walked into, it was a large conference. I felt like I walked back into the halls of high school. It was terrible. I hated it. And I've talked to so many other people who have experienced the same thing. And that's one of the main reasons I started Chopped Conference. So we could have space to learn and grow from one another in a professional, fun, and super inclusive environment. Because my theory is inclusivity has to start at the top. So I got it started, and definitely inclusivity is a theme, but also a little bit of magic too. So we have a lot of fun and a lot of inspiration. So come join me and other amazing food bloggers like Denise and Lenny of Shea Us and Kara Anzus of Fork and Beans and so many more amazing people at Chopped Conference this year. Head to choppedcon.com today and click on register. I can't wait to see you there. Okay, let's get right to today's feature interview with Sara. A big intro shout out to Ania of the Lazy Cat Kitchen. I hope I said your name right, Ania. Ania said she was listening to the Chopped podcast while photographing recipes. And Ania has some amazing backdrop for that food photography because she lives in Greece. And Ania, I want to tell you, I have been to Greece before. I haven't been to your island in particular, but I did. I was on Santorini, Crete, and Patmos. Wow, beautiful stuff. I mean, beautiful is not even the right word, right? I'm sure people in Greece have about 10 different words for beautiful and they could pick the right one. Anyway, thanks so much for your love, Ania. I really appreciated it. So everyone, in honor of Ania, get out those cameras, put on the earbuds, and let's talk about all things food blogging and so much more. Hey everyone, I'm happy to have Sara Cornelius of the site Cake Over Steak back on the show today. Hey Sara, welcome back.
Hi, Marley. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, I'm so excited to be talking to you today, and we're going to do like a slow jam on the food blog. But first, I thought you could give a recap to everybody who maybe they didn't listen to your first one. If you could talk a little bit about your background and what it was that caused you to start your food blog.
Sure. Okay. Let's see if I can do this real quick. I feel like it's been such a long journey. But yeah, in college, I started getting really interested in cooking, and I started reading a lot of cookbooks and different kind of like food memoirs and things like that. And that led me to food blogs, and that was where the true love really started. And eventually, I decided that I wanted to start a food blog shortly after college, but I was worried about the visual aspect of it because I wasn't doing photography at the time. And I'm a visual person. I went to art school. I'm an illustrator. So I wanted my food blog to look pretty if I was going to do it. And so then I realized that I could use my skills as an illustrator and apply it to my blog, which would also set it apart from all the other food blogs out there. So I wanted to start an illustrated food blog. And by the time I actually started it, I was engaged to my husband, who is a photographer. So he was doing photography for me in the beginning for like the first year and a half. But last January of 2015, I took over the photography side of it. So now I'm doing everything for the blog, and I still do illustrations and everything.
And working full time.
So yeah. Yes, I have a full-time job.
So you're one busy girl, huh?
Yes, I am.
Well, I want to say for anybody who may have missed it, I think they should definitely go back and listen to you talk about, how you launched that blog, and, you talk about your illustrations and how that became a source of revenue for you. And I think it's such an inspirational story. So it's episode 20 of the Chopped podcast. I definitely recommend it. But rather than go into all those details and repeat it for everybody, I thought we could just kind of go on to our topic, which is, well, actually, let me ask you first, do you have anything since then you want to update everybody on? Are you still doing your own food photos, and do you still love it?
Yes, I absolutely love it. It has really become one of my favorite parts of what I do with the blog. And it makes me love Instagram even more. Like sometimes I just get the urge like, do I have a photo on my phone I haven't posted yet? Because I just feel like editing a photo on my phone. But I attended a workshop back in April, one of the Pinch of Yum food styling workshops. And it was the first one they did that was like more advanced. So I guess the ones they had been doing are for people who shoot in auto mode.
Right.
And it kind of helps them transition into shooting in manual. But I was already shooting manual. So the one I went to focused more on styling and branding your photos and understanding what all of that means. So that was super helpful for me. And I feel like I got a lot out of it. And especially since then, I just love doing the photo shoots and editing the photos and everything.
I think loving what you do, it makes such a difference, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Because
So,
otherwise, why the heck would I be doing all this?
yeah. And what I just heard out of that is knowledge can equal fun. So taking the time to go to a workshop makes you understand it better and therefore you have more fun.
Yeah, because I mean, there's something to be said for just fooling around with the camera and learning as you go. But sometimes that can feel really frustrating when
Yes.
like you're just fumbling around in the dark.
Yes.
So, and I like to know what I'm doing. Like I'm the person who reads the manual for things when I open it, and like I read the
Yes.
whole manual before I do anything. So, yeah, it's just and I already had a good sense of what I was doing because my husband had taught me a lot and I come from a family of photographers. So it was just, and being with all these other photographers and being able to ask them what they do and talk to Lindsay from Pinch of Yum about any questions I had, like it just takes you to that next step a lot faster than if you were doing it all on your own.
I think that's so true. I mean, I always give these tennis illustrations, but Sean and I play tennis, and that we'll have a coach help us out on a certain, like maybe we're having trouble with our serve or whatever. I say our, like we're a collective person, but like my serve, and
Right.
they will point out that you got your elbow turned the wrong way, and I'm thinking I don't have my elbow turned the wrong way, and sure enough, like somebody can just come in and they just catch it right away. So it's good to have someone else, I think, come in and give you those tips. And it takes a little bit of vulnerability. And I'm really impressed that you did that. That's cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So now you're still doing do you do an illustration with each post?
Yeah, I do. I have kind of started experimenting with some other styles of illustration that allow me to do it much faster, which also just helps to keep it fun for me
Yeah.
because a lot of times I am pressed for time, and it also just keeps it interesting for me too, rather than putting myself in a box with my illustrations.
Yes.
So I've been having a lot of fun with that too.
Oh, that's so great. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, so I want you to know I came to this conclusion that you and I have this theme going on because the first time that we talked, we made this joke at the end of the interview about the fact that you spell your name Sara, and we were like, because H's are so
Yeah.
And that is a Jimmy Fallon skit from The Tonight Show.
Yeah.
And now I came up with this idea, like we're going to be talking about slow jam and blogging. And that's a slow jam is like it's something else Jimmy Fallon does. So
Oh, really?
he does a slow jam the news.
I didn't know that. Oh, okay. I'll have
Yeah.
to look that up after
Yeah,
this.
it's pretty funny. Like he'll have President Obama on and Obama's talking about all this, the stuff that he's working on and then Jimmy Fallon's right there like just slow jamming it. It's really funny. So we're
Yeah, I'll
slow
look that up.
jamming on food blogging today.
Yes, we are.
Yes, because I really love this topic that you feel so inspired about, which is the idea of, basically slowing down a little bit. I mean, there's kinds of, different rules of thoughts. Like some people are blogging 6 days a week and some people are just blogging when the moment strikes them. And I think there's, obviously there's a wide swath in between that. And you've got some thoughts on the idea of slow blogging.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like there has been so much talk out there about the people who do post, like whether it's 3 times a week or 5 times a week or whatever. And especially when I was first starting, like sometimes that kind of talk could make me feel like such a failure because, I mean, I do have a full-time job and, my blog is my side hustle. But also the way that I blog, that's just not possible for me. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that that's totally okay. And the way that I blog just doesn't fit into that category. And so I kind of wanted to come on here and be a voice for the people that don't fit into that mold. And the way I see it, I feel like there are 2 main categories of food blogs, and there's the people who just really want to get recipes out there and share them with the world. And the blog is their vehicle for doing that. And then there are other people, which I think I fall into this category, where like the whole blog is your product. It's the photos, it's the writing and the story, and it's the food and the recipes that tie everything together. And there are a million people who also fall somewhere in between those 2 categories. But for me, mean, I've got the illustrations, there's the photos, there's a story behind the recipe or how it relates to my life, and there's the recipe itself. And I'm also a designer, so I feel like the whole site as a whole is kind of just like this product, almost like a digital cookbook or something.
Oh, I like
And
that.
and yeah, and for blogs like that, you can't do that 3 times a week, or maybe you can do it twice a week if you're doing this full time, but it's just not possible, unless you're not sleeping. But then, if that's all you're doing, then how are you living those moments that you're then able to write about and
Right.
trying those new recipes just for trying a new recipe and how that turns into something for your blog?
So what I think I'm hearing you say is like this is a quality over quantity kind of situation. You're going,
Absolutely.
yeah. And I also hear you say like you don't want that recipe to be like something that shows up on the blog. It needs to feel connected to the rest of your site. And that takes some time to plan that out a little bit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because I think those other ones, some of these food sites, a ton of people might find you through a Google search and they grab your recipe, and that's fine. And maybe that's what you want your blog to be, and that's great. But I think for me, I really want that connection with my reader. And it's the blogs like that that made me want to be a blogger. They don't post a million times a week. It's maybe once a week. And then when they do post, it's like this little gift I've been given. And I
Yeah.
can't wait to read it. I can't wait to share it. I want to soak up all the photography because it's usually amazing. And
Yes.
part of the reason why I love the blog that I'm reading anyway, probably.
Now,
But
do you think there's some things that
yeah.
you could do, like if that was, if you're that person and let's say you're blogging one time a week, but all week long what that post is going to be about, could you build up the suspense of that?
Do you mean with your readers, like kind of
Yeah.
teasing it out to them?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think so. I've been trying to tease out some photos on Instagram sometimes, like
Yeah.
especially, if I'm shooting for the blog, I might take a shot with my phone and Instagram it that day and say, this is coming soon, and
Right.
people get excited about it and things like that. So,
Yeah, that's good. Now
and
you
yeah.
you kind of stumbled upon this idea based on a couple of posts that, you had been working on for a long time and hadn't published. Can you talk about those two posts?
Yes. So, and this, I feel like I am kind of crazy because I swear I've had multiple posts that have lived in my brain for like years before they show up on
Yeah.
the blog. So I mean, I might feel a little strange in that department, but yeah. So before I even started my blog, I got this idea to do this series called Quest for the Best. And I knew that first I wanted to do chocolate chip cookies. So the idea was I would try a bunch of recipes and I would figure out which one was the best. And then I would write about it on the blog and about my experience. And especially with chocolate chip cookies, it's like everyone has something different that they're looking for. So even if it's not my ultimate favorite, but it was one that I really liked, I could still talk about that one because it might be the right one for someone else who's reading it. And also, just like the scientific part of me really liked this idea.
Yeah.
So for about 2 years, I was trying out different chocolate chip cookie recipes. And my plan was to pick like the top 9 and then illustrate them and write this post about it. But it just kept getting like pushed off and pushed off because I was doing all of my regular posting and everything, and also still very slowly trying all these recipes over time. So then finally, it was over the fall and winter, I actually got sick and had to really slow down even more with my blog and just like rest because I had some like virus or whatever. But
Hmm.
it was kind of a blessing in disguise because I was able to see that even though I wasn't blogging much, my traffic wasn't really suffering.
Hmm.
Like it wasn't growing, but it also wasn't going down. So, I had links coming in from various places and I would share old posts on social media and stuff like that. So it just kind of showed me like you can take some time off and work on something that's going to be huge. And then hopefully when you post it, all that time is going to pay off. And that's exactly what happened. So
Wow.
I made the decision. I took a complete month off from posting, but in that time, I was doing all the illustrations for that Quest for the Best chocolate chip cookie post because I actually did 9 separate illustrations,
Oh my goodness.
which is, yeah, I know, I'm crazy. So I was working on that and also testing the recipe for what became my ultimate chocolate chip cookie recipe, which was the second post out of this time that I took off to really develop both of these posts. So I was like recipe testing and I shot that recipe and some other recipes I was going to share later on and was illustrating, and I just like put my head down and got that stuff done. And then I posted those in April. So, and then it was like April, I only had like 2, maybe 3 blog posts.
Yeah.
But because those 2 posts were so valuable and so rich in content, and I had actually been kind of teasing them out on social media, like, you guys, there's something really big coming. Like, I'm working on it.
And it involves cookies.
And yeah, chocolate chip cookies, everyone's favorite. So then when I posted them, they were like so shareable and everybody loved it that I ended up having a record high traffic month and like quadrupled my traffic.
Wow.
So it just goes to show that like you can, and I've seen this before, even like before this event on my blog, that I can have one post be a home run and get me way more traffic than like 4 mediocre posts. So I feel like if you have that mentality for every post, they're not all going to be home runs, but chances are a greater percentage of them will be.
I think that's just such great advice. And I think you're so right. We have this tendency to see, oh, this site is doing really well and they're posting 5 or 6 times a week. And that must be what I need to do too. But what I'm hearing you say is that sometimes being very thoughtful and providing just super high quality that probably took you farther than you would have if you would have posted 3 times a week or 4 times a week in April throughout the whole month.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, and like I could probably change the format of my blog, post 3 to 5 times a week, not do my illustrations, grow my traffic a ton, but it wouldn't be the blog that I want to be doing.
Yes.
So I just have come to realize that that is not what works for me, and that's okay, and this is what works for me.
You know what I like about this
yeah.
is that I've been thinking lately about the difference between having a vision and having goals. So sometimes I have been very goal focused in my life. Like, I don't, like I got an MBA, and that was a goal. And I think my goal was actually to have just a master's degree, whether, what it was in was, probably what was the easiest not the easiest, like, most approachable for me because I had a business undergrad. But, then there's just these goals that I can have, and let me tell you, you put a goal in front of me and I can really tackle it, but that doesn't necessarily mean it fits with the vision for my life. So I have been spending more time lately trying to understand my vision so that I'm not like just pursuing goals that really end up having no meaning for me in the end.
Right. Yeah, because I launched my blog because I wanted to do it, and that was where I felt my passion going.
Yeah.
But I also launched my blog knowing that I want it to be my job someday. But I've just, come to terms with the fact that it might take me much longer than someone who posts 5 times a week.
Right.
But at least I know that when I reach that goal, that I've been doing it through my values the whole time. And, even if I don't reach that goal, that I was doing exactly what I wanted to be doing anyway.
Right. And you feel really proud of what you're doing right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that is so great. And I'm just curious, like, now that you've had that and you've spent some time thinking about it, what do you think that looks like for you in the future? Are you going to maybe continue to try to do 1 high quality post a month or 2, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, especially after that happened, I reevaluated my blogging, like, editorial calendar.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, I'm kind of crazy and I plan things out really far in advance. So I have the rest of 2016 planned out.
Get out.
More or less.
Really?
But I only post like a couple times a month. So, you know, compared to someone else, that would maybe be like a month planned out. You know what I mean? So for me, with this whole slow blogging concept, that means I'm planned out like 6 months ahead of time. And I went through, and I'm constantly tweaking that calendar based on things that come up in my life, or if I get a new idea and it fits into this time period, and, you know, I'll swap things around or whatever. But I went back through and I switched it up, that I had been trying to post once a week, which is still not much, but with my schedule, with working full time and what I do for each post, that was really hard for me. And so now I'm trying to post more like every 10 to 14 days throughout the rest of the year. Well, after this summer, I have some things kind of going on in the summer that I'm trying to get out, but more like in the fall, definitely only posting like every 10 days or so maximum.
Right.
And then also I've scheduled in like a whole month at the beginning of 2017 to take time off to work on a redesign for the site.
You know, I actually do like the idea of every now and then I think we need a sabbatical. And if that means reposting old content, or, you know, doing some posts that just are very low time effort, I think it's really important to have a sabbatical. Yeah,
you just come back feeling so refreshed.
Yes, exactly. And it's highly creative work, especially what you're doing. And so I think you've got to refill that well every now and then.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like, if all you're doing is blogging all the time, then what do you have to write about?
Right.
You know?
Right. Oh, that's right. It would, if you want to have something to say besides just here's the food.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious what you think this model would look like. Let's say somebody's listening to the show and they're very interested in what you have to say as far as like slow blogging, slow jam in the food blog. What do you think would be like a model that would be the most successful? Like, for example, I could say maybe you're not posting 5 times a week or 3 times a week, or maybe not even 2 times a week. Maybe it is 1 time a week or 1 every 10 days. But I imagine that you're very active on social media. So that, in other words, that keeps your audience engaged.
Yeah, I try to. Yeah, I try to be.
That's good.
So, yeah. So do you mean like what can they do to keep their audience engaged throughout the time?
Right.
Yeah, I think that social media plays a huge presence in that, because I feel like when I'm not having new posts on my blog, I'm still on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, you could be on Snapchat, interacting with your audience and building that relationship. And then even more so, it's like they get these little tidbits from you almost every day, or multiple times a day if you're really going crazy. But then when you have a blog post, it's like, oh my gosh, she has a blog post today. I can't wait to read it.
Right.
And I think that just plays into this whole idea, because otherwise, if you're posting a blog post every day, and I mean, I follow some blogs like that I love, but even though I love those blogs, I'm not reading every single post.
Right.
Because I just can't.
Yeah.
I mean, unless I'm only reading your blog, I can't read all of them. You know.
Yeah.
I would love to, but yeah, it's just I just don't have time.
Do you have like a social media sharing, schedule that you're sharing old content as you're going along?
Yes, I did get co-schedule since we last talked.
Yeah.
And I love it.
I am on that too. I love it.
Yeah. So I do try to, well, I don't have like a ton of content because, like I said, I only post maybe once a week or so. So I don't have old content that I can push out every day, but I definitely share at least one old post like once a week or a couple times a week on Facebook mostly.
Yeah.
But but I also like sometimes I'll share old photos from old posts as like a throwback Thursday on Instagram. And then those are set up to go to Twitter and Facebook. So
how do you do that to set up to go? Do you use the IFTT?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if everybody doesn't know what we're talking about, it's if then if this then that.
Yes.
And you can set up these recipes. So like for me on Instagram, if I do hashtag Twitter, it shares on Instagram, the photo that I shared on Instagram, it'll share with the photo on Twitter.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite
Me too.
recipes is how it puts your Instagram as a photo on
Yes.
Twitter
Because
instead of
that's a
just the
big
Instagram
difference.
link.
Got to have that photo.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, I think I actually saw a study that said that links are the most disregarded on Twitter. You got to have that photo.
Yeah, I remember reading that too, and then ever since then, I try to make my Twitter feed almost always have a photo. And I've
Yes.
noticed now that when I look through my tweet deck, if a tweet doesn't have a photo, I just glaze right over it.
Yes, me
So I
too.
think that's really important.
I think so too. And you also have, do you have a recipe also there for Facebook? Or you just,
Yeah, because I have them set up to go directly to my Cake Over Steak Facebook page because
ah,
I was having trouble. I felt like I was really struggling to keep content flowing on my Cake Over Steak Facebook page.
yes,
So
that's a
that's
good,
really helped where now every time I
oh,
Instagram, it's also Twitter and Facebook content. So
that
I
is a
really
great
like that.
idea because oftentimes I'll have my Instagram go to Facebook, but then it goes to my personal feed. So if you use
Yeah, and
the,
I do that too sometimes, but I just do that in the app when I feel like sharing it to my personal page. And
yes,
that's
but
just like an extra.
is the IFTT recipe the same? It's a hashtag Facebook and then it shares it to your fan page?
I actually just have all of them go.
I see. Okay.
So I'm sure you could set it up that way if you wanted to.
Yes. No, I love that
Yeah.
because I love the Facebook page and I feel like there's more interaction that goes on there, so it's nice to share some of that stuff and I'm just too lazy to actually go there and do it manually.
Yeah, it was a real game changer for me because like I have this list of things I try to do every day, like tweet X amount of times,
Yes.
post on Facebook like at least once, if not more, and try to share on Instagram. So once I set up those recipes, it was such a relief because every time I Instagram, which is my favorite one to use anyway, then
Yeah.
it's also creating content for both of those platforms.
That's really great. Are you doing any video at all?
No,
Because I could see where you could
not
do
yet.
a video of creating your illustration. How cool would that be?
That is something I want to do. And I've talked with my husband about it because he does screen recordings of when he photoshops his crazy stuff that he
Mm-hmm.
does.
Mm-hmm.
So most of my illustrations are at least like 60% digital, if not completely digital.
Yeah.
So I think we might do that one time and have it screen record while I'm doing my illustration. And then we can like speed it up. And it's
Yeah.
like just like a little video and you see it all happen really fast.
Yeah. What
So,
is your, I mean, like our DSLR has a time lapse setting on it. So we do some time lapse shots that way. Just a thought.
yeah, we've thought about doing that too to record me doing my pencil drawings when I do those, but we
Yes.
just haven't set it up yet.
That's great. Well, I was just going to
Yeah.
say back to the topic. Another
Yeah.
thing I really like about this is that I talked with Tracy York, but she's of the site Vanilla and Bean, and I don't remember the episode number, but anyway, it was back in the fall, and she agrees. Like, but her point was that because this is highly creative work, but also because it's work that we've chosen for ourselves, we want to do it in a way that meets our needs. And for some people that is blogging 6 times a week, but I think there are some people who need the downtime in order to be their most creative selves. So this
Yeah.
feels like a respectful schedule. It's respectful of you as an individual.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been blogging for almost 3 years and it's taken me this long to let myself slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
And thankfully, it hasn't made me stop loving it at all. But I have gone through moments where it's like, oh, it's
Yes.
stressful.
What am I doing
And
this for? Yeah, you start to feel like a machine.
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I don't want it. I don't want to feel like a machine when I'm doing it. And, you know, like, yeah, I could create this job for myself and be a machine, but that's not why I'm doing it. The point of me blogging to turn it into a job, hopefully one day, is so that I have a job that I love doing and that feeds me creatively in
Right.
the best way possible and having that control over it. So if I don't achieve that by doing it the way I want to be doing it, then what's the point of it at all? I could just have another job that's way easier. You know what I mean? Like, this is not
Absolutely.
easy.
I totally
So why make
agree.
it harder on myself?
Yeah. Because otherwise you'll just go, get a 9 to 5, right? Or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I'm sure that if the day comes that I am doing this full time, I probably will work myself into the ground at least part of the time.
Yeah.
But I try to keep telling myself that when that day comes, that, the idea is to have this extra job that I do replace my day job.
Yeah.
So, I would, even if I was doing this full time, I'd probably only post like once a week because, for the same reasons, but also if I could have a job and work for myself, but work like 6 hours a day instead of like 15,
Yes.
that seems like the point here,
Right. Exactly. And
Yeah.
what I love too is like, okay, so I think this notion of seeing so and so do something that's been successful for them and doing that is really something out of fear. It's out of a scarcity mindset, like I have to do that because that's the way I'm going to be successful. Whereas figuring out what works best for you and following that and following your vision for your blog, to me that sounds like passion and love, and that's the mindset I think we want to be in.
Yeah, and I think that if you are doing that, it's going to come through on your blog,
Yeah.
and that's what's going to get you the readers that stick around and
Right.
subscribe.
Yes.
And that's the other thing I wanted to talk about today was, if you're really passionate about each post that you put out, then your readers are going to be passionate about it. And you're going to find those readers that care about you and care about what you're talking about and want to hang out in your space. And, it's that whole authenticity thing. So I think if you're doing that, then you're going to get the readers that are the most valuable kind of reader that you can have.
Right.
And it's more valuable to have, what do they say? It's better to have 1,000 readers who are there with you every step of the way than to have 100,000 readers who just, skip in and out and
You're
don't
right.
really care.
Absolutely. I think that's so true. I mean, I
Yeah.
think we feel drawn to having these big numbers. Like, how cool would it be, if we could say we had 100,000 people on our email list? But in reality, I agree with you. Like, if they're not reading the emails, you would rather have 1,000 that are just fully loving what you're doing. That's a better
Yeah.
number.
Yeah, definitely. And I've seen that reflected in my posts where the ones that I'm super excited about and I just can't wait to share them. And a lot of times they're ones that, have been percolating for a while. I see my audience get excited about it and it leads to more engagement and more subscribers. And
And then they're sharing your
they
content
just,
too, right?
yeah. And then they want to share it because they're excited about it too.
That's exciting. I'm so glad that first of all, I mean, it seems like you kind of accidentally fell into all of this, and it's just such, great food for thought. And I do feel like it kind of, I don't know, like I like to systematize things, and I have found with food blogging, it is like the hardest thing to systematize. It's like, there's just not one way to do it. And my mind can't sometimes wrap around that. But I think the sooner we can realize that, the happier we are.
Yeah, I like to systemize things too. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, if I knew there was a formula for success, I think that oftentimes that's just me in general. And I think a lot of people too, like we just want the pill. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. But I was talking with Tiffany Angeles. She was on the podcast recently. And she talked about how actually blogging or entrepreneurship actually is the modern world's voyage of self-discovery. And I think it's so true because it's just a way to get to know. I mean, I am looking for this pill out there to tell me how to be successful as a food blogger. And in reality, it's really, I should be looking inside for first of all, defining what success is, and two, for achieving that.
Yeah. Yeah, it is hard too because sometimes it's the the post that you don't think is a big deal that
Yeah.
blows up.
Yeah.
Like that was the
Yeah.
other thing that happened to me like a year and a half ago. I wrote a post about my favorite podcasts because I had
Yes.
one friend on social media. It was like, I love your podcast recommendations. You should do a whole post about it. So I thought, okay, I mean, it's not really food related necessarily, but I do love podcasts. So I'll write this post. And it's so classically me because I shared like 35 podcasts and it was like 4,000 words. But then that thing blew up like crazy.
Wow.
I thought I should have started a blog about podcasts because apparently, it literally at the time I posted it, it had more page views than like the rest of my blog combined.
Wow.
I was like, what the heck is going on here?
That is
Doesn't
huge.
anybody care about my other stuff? But yeah, it was the same thing. It was like a good resource. It was very shareable. And
Yes.
over across social media, I tagged like all of the podcast people I mentioned and they shared it with their audience.
Yes.
And they wanted to know what other podcasts they should be listening to. And,
Right.
you just never know what's going to happen.
Yes, exactly. And they were probably thrilled to get the mention. And then they wanted, like you say, they wanted to share it. And then the next thing you know, all their audiences are reading it. So it was a brilliant post.
Yeah. And it was also very well timed by accident because it was like right when Serial ended and everybody wanted something new to listen to.
Yes.
So I hit a sweet spot by accident.
Did you listen to Serial season 2?
I started it and it just didn't grab me like
Me
the other
too.
one.
I made the mistake of listening to it as they were going along, and then they had that pause in the middle, and I just never picked it back up again.
Yeah, I think it's extremely well produced and
Yes.
well told, but I just never felt in the mood for it.
You have to be in the mood. And I think for me, it helped that on season 1, I did not listen to any of it until it was all over. And so I was just like binge cleaning the house and listening to it all at the same time. And that helped me.
See, that's what my husband did, but I was listening from like episode 2. So
yes,
I was there for the whole ride. But
well, I think also in the meantime, a lot of really good podcasts have started up. I feel like my listening time is just like, oh my God, I can't even keep up with everything that I need to listen to. While at the same time, every now and then I want to just go for a walk and have my own thoughts in my head. So,
Oh yeah, I listen to podcasts all day at work and when I drive to work, and I still can't listen to all of them.
Yes, even if I have them on 1.5, I still can't listen to them all. You know, the speed, increasing the speed by 1.5.
Yeah, I haven't tried that, but
it depends on the podcaster. Some podcasters speak more quickly, and then it stresses me out to hear them.
Oh,
If you're listening to somebody talk like this and they're talking really fast, it starts to make me feel stressed out. So
yeah, yeah, I think that's part of what I'm worried about.
Yes, but if it's somebody who has a nice, slow speaking voice, I can listen to it on 1.5 and it's fine. Well, okay, so you know what? Do you have any tips for somebody, just, think about somebody who's brand new to blogging and they're trying to grow their audience. What's your favorite tip?
I do think that social media can be really helpful, and also networking with other bloggers is really important. But, based on the topic that we've been talking about, I'd say write down a bunch of post ideas, just like let your brain go wild, and then keep an eye on which ones you just keep thinking about and what gets you really excited, and focus in on those ones and just make really good content for those. And hopefully they'll be a home run.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Okay, so I love to ask these quick questions at the end of the interview. And since I've already asked you some of them, I'm just going to slightly alter them. So what's your second favorite food? Not your first, your second favorite food.
Oh, I'm going to say chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, okay, now that you say that, I have to ask, what was your first? I don't remember.
Oh, I think I said chocolate.
Oh, okay, so
chocolate.
There's still a chocolate theme going on.
Oh, yeah.
And is your favorite the one that you put on your post, your ultimate chocolate chip cookie?
Yes. Yeah, that one, I I kind of made like a Frankenstein recipe of all of the things I loved
All
about the
the
ones I was
things.
trying.
I love it.
Yeah, it's really nuts. It's seriously the best chocolate chip cookie ever. And
Oh,
I've had a lot of people tell me that too who've
I
tried
can't wait
them.
to go
So
check that out then. I want to see
yeah,
your
it's so
illustration
good.
of it too. I think more than anything.
Oh, yeah, it's a fun one.
Okay, so what's the second favorite app on your phone?
Well, Marley, I have to tell you that last time we talked, I
Yes.
was like, Snapchat, I don't want to do it. And
Uh,
Snapchat is my new happy place.
really? I'm with
Yeah,
you. I love Snapchat. It's like people
I
being
do.
real.
Yeah, I love it. It's like when I really want to turn my brain off, it's almost like mini television
Yes.
or like temporary YouTube channels. And I just love seeing what other people are doing. Like I'm
Yes.
spying on them.
Willingly. Yeah, they're letting you spy on them, right?
Yeah, yeah. And everyone has their own little style of how they Snapchat. And,
Yes.
I have my favorites and stuff. But yeah, I just love it.
Yes, I do too. I think it's just a kind of a way of like I'll even show my kitchen after we've had a day of photo shoots and it's just
Hmm.
trashed. And Sean calls it the Marley Hurricane or whatever. Just like being real, I think it's such a nice opportunity for that.
Yeah, I did one of those one day where I had been baking for like a party or something all day long and I went like a 360 around my kitchen and it was like literally every surface was covered that I
Yes.
even had stuff on top of my trash can
Oh my
because
gosh.
there was just nowhere
Yeah.
to put anything. And I was
Uh,
like, please help.
Somebody come help me now. What's your
Yeah, this
Snapchat?
is, yeah.
What's
Oh,
your
it's Sara underscore Cornelius. So
and
just one underscore.
and also note that there is no H in that Sarah.
Yeah, no H on the Sara.
Okay, so do you have, we still have to talk about TV. Do you have a new
Hmm.
favorite show this time?
Yes, I
I want to
do.
hear about it.
Jane the Virgin.
Oh my
Have
gosh,
you
I haven't even
watched
heard of
it?
that one.
Oh my gosh, Marley. This
Really?
show, it might be like my favorite show of all time.
What's it on?
And oh goodness, I'm not sure.
Is it on
Season one is
Netflix?
on Netflix. Yeah, season two is not on Netflix yet
Okay.
because it just ended in May. So season
Jane
three
the
is coming on in
Virgin.
the fall.
What's it about?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It is so good. It is, well, so it's kind of like a spoof on telenovelas where it's almost like making fun of them, but not really. So there's like a narrator and it's just like this soap opera, but they still keep like at least one toe grounded in reality. So you feel really connected to these characters and it's so funny. It's so well written. But the premise is Jane, the main character, gets accidentally artificially inseminated
Oh my
and
God.
she's a virgin. But like what I tell people who don't know anything about it is like that right there sounds crazy enough, but that is just the tip of the iceberg of what happens in this show.
Oh, I
Like
can't
it
wait.
every episode is a cliffhanger and the one thing they do which is so crazy is like they'll throw you this curveball at the end of an episode and you think, oh my gosh, how did they do that? And then they'll throw you one or two more in like the last minute and you're just like, oh my god. And you have to keep watching. So and yeah, the acting is great. Like the main actress, Gina Rodriguez, who plays Jane, is absolutely amazing. And she did win Best Actress in a Comedy the first year it was on. Like it is, I can't even tell you how good this show is.
Oh,
It's amazing.
cool. I'm gonna start watching it tonight, probably.
Yeah, good luck because you're not going to sleep.
Oh, once you start, you can't stop, huh?
You can't stop.
Well, I have a new favorite show to share with you if you're interested.
Oh yeah,
It's called
sure.
The Last Man on Earth. Have you heard of it?
Oh, I think my husband watched it. Is that on
Oh,
Netflix?
it is so funny. Is it on Netflix? I don't think it is on Netflix. I don't know what it's on. My husband got it.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know how
But
he
yeah, I
got it.
have heard of it.
It is so hilarious. I let me just tell you, I'm one of those people like we'll watch something funny and I'll find it funny, but I don't like laugh out loud, but I'm enjoying
Hmm.
it. This
Yeah.
one, I am just laughing out loud like crazy.
Yeah.
It's really funny. I also really like Amy Schumer's. show, Inside Amy Schumer. That one is raunchy and hilarious all at the same time.
Oh, yeah. I've seen some clips from that one. I love her. She's great.
She's so good. Yeah. Anyway, I could go on all day. Okay, so remind everybody how they can find you online.
Okay, so all of my things are Sara_Cornelius_, because apparently my name is really basic and I need those underscores, except for Snapchat, which just has the one in the middle. Then the blog is cakeoversteak.com. You can find me on Facebook, Cakeoversteak. And yeah, I think that's it.
Sara, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me. I had a really good time.
Sure. Thanks so much for talking to me about all of this. I had a lot of fun.
Thanks so much to Sara Cornelius for being my guest on today's episode of the Chopped Podcast. Be sure to go to choppedpodcast.com to buy your ticket to the Chopped Conference, learn more about today's show, and you can even sign up for our newsletter and get the latest on all things food blogging. Tune in next week as I talk with Julie Diley of The Little Kitchen about the importance of being a connector as a food blogger. Julie is just amazing, and I know you're going to love hearing from her, so be sure to tune in next week. I hope you're loving the Chopped Podcast. You can show your support for this show by leaving a review on iTunes or Stitcher. You can also share about the show on social media or even leave a link on your own blog or podcast. All of these things make a big difference. And you know I love getting your emails too, so keep them coming. You inspire me, and I hope today's show was helpful and inspirational to the work you're doing every day. Thanks for listening and have a great week.